9 bodies, frozen, scattered across a mountain that locals refused to name. Their tent ripped open from the inside, their footprints barefoot in the snow, leading into darkness. No screams were heard, no distress signals sent, just silence. And when investigators finally pieced together what happened that night in February 1959, they realized something terrifying. The evidence didn't just raise questions, it shattered every logical explanation. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and nothing about it makes sense. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old, an engineering student, an experienced mountaineer. He wasn't reckless, none of them were. 9 hikers, 8 students, 1 veteran, all trained for the brutal conditions of the northern Urals. They knew cold, they knew survival, they knew fear. Their destination was Ototen Mountain, a Category 3 route, the most dangerous classification in Soviet mountaineering. But they were ready. January 27, 1959. They began their trek. Days passed. The temperature dropped to 40 below zero. Winds howled. Snow piled deeper. On February 1st, they reached the slopes of Kholat-Syakhl. In the local Mansi language, it means dead mountain. They pitched their tent as darkness fell. A blizzard was building. And then something happened. Something that made 9 experienced survivalists tear through their only shelter. Something that drove them barefoot into a frozen wasteland. Something that left them dying, one by one, in the darkness. When search teams arrived 3 weeks later, they found the tent, still standing, slashed from within, and the footprints leading away told a story of absolute terror. February 26th, the first bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. Found beneath a massive cedar tree at the forest edge, nearly naked, skin blue, fingers torn and bloodied. Above them, branches were snapped, evidence they'd climbed high, desperately searching for something in the darkness. Below them, the remnants of a fire, barely enough to warm their hands. They died within meters of each other. But they weren't trying to escape. They were watching. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, frozen in the snow at intervals as if they'd collapsed while crawling back to camp, one by one. Dyatlov was found reaching toward the tent. His hands stretched forward. He almost made it. And then the ravine. 2 months of searching, probing through 4 meters of compacted snow. When they finally broke through, they found the last 4 hikers huddled together in a frozen streambed. But these bodies were different. Catastrophically different. Lyudmila Dubinina, major chest fractures, broken ribs, missing tongue and eyes. Alexander Zolotaryov, the oldest veteran hiker, severe chest fractures, broken ribs. Nikolai Thibaut Brignoles, major skull fracture. Alexander Kolevatov, least injured of the 4. They suffered a lot. Crushed ribs, shattered skulls, internal bleeding so severe the medical examiner compared it to a high-speed car collision. Yet their skin was intact, no bruises, no external trauma, just bones broken from within by a force so immense it defied explanation. The lead investigator wrote one sentence in his report: "The cause of death was a compelling natural force unknown to us." Then he closed the case. The Soviet government sealed the mountain for 3 years, and no one spoke of it again. What kind of force breaks ribs without leaving a mark? For decades, people tried to answer that question, each theory more desperate than the last. The Mansi people were the first suspects, but they had no reason to attack, no history of violence, and the footprints at the scene belonged only to the 9 hikers. No one else was there. No one else could have been there. Then came whispers of military involvement. The Urals were home to weapons testing facilities. That night, witnesses miles away reported seeing strange lights, bright orange spheres hovering in the sky. When investigators tested the hikers' clothing, they found traces of radiation. Not enough to kill, but enough to question. What were they exposed to? What did they see? Some scientists argued for an avalanche, a delayed slab avalanche that struck hours after the tent was pitched. It would explain the panic, the sudden flight. But there was no debris, no snowslide, and the slope wasn't steep enough. Besides, an avalanche doesn't explain the internal injuries. It doesn't explain why they never came back. So the theories grew darker. Infrasound from wind, creating frequencies that trigger primal panic. Military experiments with chemical weapons. Ball lightning. Paranormal phenomena. But here's what haunts every investigator who studied this case: the behavior. These weren't panicked amateurs. They were trained. They knew hypothermia kills in minutes, yet they fled half-dressed and never returned. What kind of threat makes death in the cold seem like the safer option? Every answer creates more questions. If it was an avalanche, why was the tent intact? Why no snow debris? If it was a weapon test, why leave the bodies? Why not cover it up? The Soviet Union was very good at making things disappear, yet they documented everything, photographed everything, as if they too were searching for answers they couldn't find. The missing tongue. Scientists say scavenging, water decomposition, natural processes, but Dubinina was found face down in a stream, and only her soft tissue was gone, precisely. And then there's the detail no one can explain. The tent was cut from the inside, not slashed in panic, methodically cut. Someone took a knife and carefully opened an exit. That takes control, that takes thought. So what did they see? What was outside that tent that made cutting their way out, abandoning warmth, abandoning gear, abandoning life, seem like the logical choice? Some questions don't have answers. Some mysteries are designed to stay unsolved. 60 years later, in 2019, Russia reopened the investigation. New technology, new forensic methods. Their conclusion? Avalanche. A small, rare slab avalanche triggered panic. Case closed. Again. But the families didn't believe it. The investigators who worked the original case didn't believe it. And the mountain, now officially renamed Dyatlov Pass, still holds its secrets. Soviet files remain sealed, the truth perhaps buried forever. We'll never know what they saw that night, but we remember them. Their footprints in the snow. And the mountain, dead mountain, remembers too.